proud of me, a father's greatest accomplishment. I am proud of me. I am proud of what I've achieved during my life, and more importantly, who I am. At age 70, the feeling of unequivocal self-pride has been a long time coming. And as I reflect this Father's Day on my relationship with my son, I understand why proud of me is my greatest accomplishment as a father and a human being. I was not always proud of me, far from it. Throughout my childhood and into middle age, unworthy, inadequate, and second-rate were more my default feelings. This image of myself as having little intrinsic value, and thus nothing to be proud of, emerged, I think, from growing up with an emotionally toxic father. My mother was loving, but she was incapable of defending her children from him. Though my father was not physically abusive, my brother and I lived in constant fear of his rage. He possessed a temper that could uncork at any time, and for what often seemed no apparent reason, leaving us feeling eviscerated. He was dismissive of our desires. If we chanced to question his request or demand, he often replied, "Humor me." We intuitively understood that retort as code for prioritizing his emotional needs, whatever they were, never ours. When my brother or I tempted fate and asked, "Why not? Why can't I? Why can't we?" his standard rejoinder, "I'm in no mood," informed us of the consequences should either of us persist. Kaboom. Argue further and be verbally pummeled, shouted into oblivion. My father never expressed positive regard for himself. I recall him as always self-deprecating and self-loathing. He earned a living writing for various commercial publications that he derided. As an adolescent, I remember him speaking to an acquaintance visiting us at home. The man asked what he had been up to lately. My father replied, "Garbage writing." He seemed to detest himself more than he detested most people. He reserved his only praise for those whose intellect and acerbic wit, like poison-tipped arrows, served to annihilate lesser minds. My father did possess a sense of humor. His joking was usually devoted to demeaning others, including me. I was the occasional punchline in stories delivered with bonhomie to acquaintances or relatives in my presence. A favorite concerned the singular impediment to my predilection as a child to run away when he upset me: hunger. In this one, I was about 6. After throwing his shirt out the window, Paul would bolt from the front door, reach the corner, stop, then return. "I'm running away after lunch." And then, well, he's still here. I have no memory of trying to escape. No matter. The point was to make others laugh. Everyone did, except me. In short, I learned from my father that who I was wasn't much. Someone to speak of in jest, and never to be taken seriously. He died in 2010. During his lifetime, I never felt seen, heard, or appreciated by him. I cannot recall him saying, "I'm proud of you, Paul," ever. When I became a new father, raising my little boy was a snap. I simply created an experience that was opposite mine. Our relationship was mutually loving and emotionally fulfilling. What I hid, however, was my daily fear that eventually he would discover that I was not a good father, and that he would no longer love me. When adolescence arrived, I was unprepared for my teenager's dismissiveness and his willful expressions of independence. I interpreted these behaviors as a rejection of me, as a referendum on just how ineffectual a father I was. Finally, the truth. I was a fraudulent dad. I did not deserve his love, and I found myself, more often than I care to recall, responding to his adolescent sass the way I had responded to my father's rage. I withdrew emotionally. I cloaked myself in silence. I endured my son's rejection as I endured my father's. To say the least, I was not proud of me. During my son's adolescence and well into his young adulthood, I benefited from various insights garnered mostly from reading about parenting, periodic counseling, and relentless introspection about what being a good father meant to me, that subsequently led me to discover a dad I could be proud of. Among the myriad discoveries that constructed and reinforced this sense of self-pride, two stand out. The first was that my feelings about me, no matter how negative, represented my feelings only, and not the truth. When I considered possible truths about me, I was a caring, loving father in person, and separated them from how I felt, I began to regard myself as not so bad after all, and as fathers go, a pretty good one. Second, I realized that my father and me was not my son and me. I realized that the conviction that I carried for much of my life, since I could not love my own father, sooner or later I would engender that response to me and my son, was a myth. I realized that my vision of who I wanted to become as a father and a human being could be determined, actualized, and owned by me. Yes, I would carry my past forever. But that did not mean that my past should dictate my future. I often think about the consequences of proud of me. The two that most comfort me are my capacity to express exactly what it is I'm proud of and my understanding of why proud of me is my greatest accomplishment. As a human being, I'm proud of my capacity to experience joy and satisfaction over my achievements and those of others. When someone says congratulations, I am proud of how easy it is for me to respond, thank you. I'm equally proud of how easy it is for me to celebrate the achievements of others. I take pride in recognizing that my feelings, happy, sad, whatever they may be, reflect only my feelings and not the truth. My feelings do not speak for me. I do. Therefore, they cannot contradict my sense of self-pride. As a father, I am proud that I am emotionally accessible to my son. When my son speaks, I hear him. When my son stands before me, I see him. I acknowledge my son's feelings. My son is emotionally safe in my presence. I am emotionally responsible for me, not my son. I encourage and compliment my son. I can disagree with and critique my son while still respecting him. I love my son without condition. Children, I think, are wired to be proud of their father. But if the father is not proud of himself, regardless of his achievements, can his child be? Not long ago, my son complimented me on a professional achievement. "I'm proud of you, Dad," he said. I replied, "Thank you." I am certain that to my son, the unequivocal acceptance of his praise informs him that I am proud of me as he is. And because I am proud of me, he is secure in the knowledge that his unequivocal love and affection is reciprocated by me. From the bottom of my heart. Proud of Me, a Father's Greatest Accomplishment, was originally posted on the Good Men Project. To read the essay, please go to goodmenproject.com.